Terrence Williams disappeared on Monday, January 12th, 2004. When a person disappears without a trace, often the most critical information is hidden in their actions and words from the days before they vanished. Terrence Williams' last known whereabouts may hold the clues to what happened to him. When 27-year-old Terrence Williams goes missing after a night of partying, his family fears for his safety.
Terrence didn't go a day without calling me.
But events soon to be uncovered will spin a simple case of a missing man into a complex and controversial investigation.
You're a seasoned veteran. You're seasoned. How can you forget something that happened 4 days ago?
It was just chilling to have all these little pieces that sounded so similar.
Something of this magnitude wouldn't go unnoticed.
And a sheriff's office is confronted with the unthinkable.
It doesn't matter how we look. There's a case to be solved here.
On a mild January night in 2004 on Florida's Gulf Coast, Marcia Williams drops off her 27-year-old son Terrence at his home in Naples after a long day of work. As she watches her only son step out of the car, she marvels at how far Terrence has come in the 2 years since he moved to Florida.
When he first moved to Naples, he would worry if he couldn't find a job. But I was always his coach, you know, his cheerleader. Just hang in there. You're gonna make it. You're gonna be okay.
Terrence's mother has always done her best to support her son, and she is the reason he moved to Florida in the first place, leaving behind 3 of his 4 children in Tennessee.
I was married and moved to Naples with my husband. A couple of months later, Terrence moved to Naples. Well, you know, he had to be with his mother.
Having difficulty meeting the child support needs for his 4 kids, Terrence hopes the move will give him more financial opportunities. With the housing boom in Southwest Florida in full swing, jobs were plentiful.
He found a job in construction, and later on he decided to work a little bit harder, so he found a second job at Pizza Hut in Bonita Springs, Florida, which is just a very short ride from Naples, Florida.
After losing his driver's license in Tennessee while driving under the influence, Terrence has been dependent on his mother and his roommate Jason to get him places. His new job at Pizza Hut is a 13-mile trip from home, straight through the new, sprawling suburb of affluent North Naples. In December of 2003, yearning for more independence, Terrence shops around for a car.
He has this thing for Cadillacs, so he went and he bought a Cadillac.
After 2 years living in Naples without incident, Terrence is itching to gain back his freedom. But he will have to wait 6 months, until June, before he can get his license back. After only a few weeks on the job at Pizza Hut, Terrence seems to be getting along well with his new coworkers. He has been invited to a work party later that night in Bonita Springs, but first, Terrence needs to go back to Naples to change clothes.
I picked him up from work, took him back to his house. The last thing he said to me was, "Bye, Mama. I'll see you later."
Once inside his house, Terrence tries to convince his roommate to accompany him to the party.
He egged me on just a little bit, saying, "Oh, come on, you can come with me, this, and that." And I just had to say, no, no, no.
Without a ride, Terrence decides to take a risk by driving himself to Bonita Springs in his unregistered Cadillac.
He says, "All right, see you later."
A short time later, Jason receives a worrisome call from Terrence, who has pulled over at a shopping center to use a payphone.
He says, "Oh man, all I see is a bunch of cops around."
Although Terrence usually maintains composure, his roommate senses fear in his friend's voice. Maybe Terrence regrets taking out the car.
He goes, "I'm just talking to you right now just so that I can see what's going on and, maybe wait him out." After a few minutes, he says, okay, I'm gonna go. I said, all right, have a good night. And that was it.
I've always taught Terrence, wherever you are, you call somebody and you let them know what's going on.
A few minutes after hanging up with Terrence, Jason places his phone next to the TV and heads off to bed. The next morning when Jason wakes up, he finds his roommate has not come home. At first, Jason isn't worried.
He has this rule that if he's gone for a couple days, don't worry about it, because he might be staying at someone's house.
That Monday morning, Jason checks his voicemail to see if Terrence has called.
I had a couple missed calls from a number I didn't recognize at 4 in the morning. So I called those numbers back.
The woman who answers says she is one of Terrence's co-workers from Pizza Hut. She distinctly remembers seeing him leave the party alone sometime between 5 and 6 a.m. Maybe Terrence had called Jason wanting a ride home.
I wish that I left my cell phone on my nightstand like I always did. That night, I just so happened to forget it on the entertainment center.
Meanwhile, on the north side of town, Terrence's mother is just waking up. For no particular reason, she has a gut feeling that something terrible has happened to her only son.
I was so nervous. I got up and I had Terrence in my mind. And I just walked through the house and I just prayed.
Despite her uneasiness, Terrence's mother continues her day as planned.
I got myself together. I went to work.
The following day, Marcia still has not heard from her son.
Tuesday, his roommate sent me an email. He said, have you heard from Terrence? And I said, no.
To Marcia, it is a sign that something is gravely wrong.
Terrence didn't go a day without calling me. We were just too close.
Coming up, the disturbing disconnect between witness testimony and what a responding officer recalls.
You're a seasoned veteran. How can you forget something that happened 4 days ago?
27-year-old Terrence Williams has just started a new job at a Pizza Hut in Bonita Springs, Florida. On Sunday, January 11th, the Naples resident takes his newly bought vintage Cadillac to an after-work employee party, even though he does not have a license to drive. The next morning, Terrence isn't home, and nobody knows where he is.
His roommate tried to call everybody that he knew trying to find him. The next day came, and we went through the same thing again.
I started calling the hospitals. No one who fit his description showed up. So then I started calling the jails, thinking that he might have gotten picked up for driving that thing without a license, and no one picked him up. I started to worry a little bit more, because now he's nowhere to be found.
Wednesday came. I couldn't stay at work. I had to do something. I had to find my child.
Marcia goes to the Pizza Hut where Terrence works, and they confirm her fears. He has missed work for the last 3 days and has failed to pick up his last 2 paychecks. She then drives to the Collier County Sheriff's Office, intending to file a missing persons report.
We went to a substation, and I told them I can't find my son. Well, I was told, he's grown. If you haven't heard from him in a month, you come back.
Although Marcia has no proof that Terrence is in danger, she knows her son would never drop out of sight without letting someone know.
We had not had any arguments, no disagreements, nothing. It's like, okay, I'll see you later, Mama. That's the last time that I spoke with him. That night when I dropped him off.
Marcia reaches out to her family in Tennessee for help.
One of my sisters said, give me all of the numbers to the hospitals, the marks, anything you can think of. And they made calls from Chattanooga.
The Williams family started contacting our dispatcher's office around January 15th of 2004.
Because of the sheer volume of calls coming into the Collier County Sheriff's Office from the family, police begin to take Terrence's case more seriously. A deputy is dispatched to his mother's house to take a report.
When I was first questioned face to face, I said, he's not coming back. They said, well, how do you know? I said, a mother knows.
Then, 24 hours later, Terrence's aunt in Tennessee uncovers a lead that could bring them one step closer to finding Terrence.
She said, we found the car. She told me that the car was towed from his cemetery. I'm going like, oh my God, he could be in the trunk of the car. Everything just goes through your mind, everything.
Marcia wastes no time, heading over to the towing company's lot.
I ID'd the car right away. His 2 jackets were in there, empty carton of Newport cigarettes, which is what he smoked, and I said, that's the car.
The manager tells Marcia that the car was towed from Naples Memorial Cemetery on the 12th of January because it was obstructing traffic. According to the report, the tow was requested by a deputy from the Collier County Sheriff's Office.
From that point, we were just continuously calling the sheriff's department, just trying to get somebody to help.
But the sheriff's office is unable to provide them with any more information, since there has been no arrest or incident report filed. The next step is to see if there were witnesses at the cemetery.
I called the cemetery and I spoke with whoever was there that morning, and they told me that they witnessed Terrence being pulled over.
Finally, there is a break. Terrence's family now has a new last known location, and they know who had the Cadillac towed. He is a 17-year patrol veteran named Deputy Steve Calkins. But what they are told next only heightens the mystery surrounding the young man's disappearance.
The witnesses see the Calkins pull into the parking lot following Terrence Williams' Cadillac. They all remember he had his emergency lights activated, and nobody remembered hearing the siren on.
The funeral home employees say the deputy asked the young man for identification, which he did not have.
They saw an interaction between the two, and some of the witnesses believe they saw Calkins pat Terrence down and place him in the back of the car. But nobody had noted any sort of like a confrontational type interaction between the two. It seemed very cordial.
The witnesses were asked by the deputy, can I leave his car here? I'll be back to have it towed. And they said yes.
According to witness accounts, the deputy returns alone somewhere between 15 minutes to an hour later. He then gets into Terrence's car and moves it from the parking spot in front of the funeral home to the side of the road.
The car was pulled up to obstruct traffic, and the keys were found on the ground outside of the car. That's my understanding.
The more Terrence's family hears, the less the scenario makes sense. Now, knowing Terrence was taken away by an officer and that he was driving on expired tags without a license, insurance, or registration, they question why the deputy did not arrest him.
And all I wanted to do was talk to him. I wanted him to give me any other information that he could give me.
The Williams family repeatedly calls the police communication center, hoping for answers. Since no one in the dispatch can find any information on Terrence, a supervisor eventually calls Deputy Calkins directly to get to the bottom of the mystery.
Steve? Yeah? I hate to bother you at home on your day off, but this woman's been bothering us all day. You towed a car from Vanderbilt to 111th Monday, a Cadillac. Do you remember it?
No.
Do you remember? She said it was near the cemetery.
Cemetery.
And the people at the cemetery are telling her you put somebody in the back of your vehicle and arrested them, and I don't show you arresting anybody.
I never arrested nobody.
That's what I thought. Okay.
I gotta think about this one for a while.
But you're sure no one was with that vehicle? It was around 12:30 in the afternoon?
Jesus, I can't remember.
You don't remember? You used to be my age, huh?
He had no memory of this contact.
But Terrence's mother finds this hard to believe after hearing the witness's testimony at the cemetery and seeing the deputy's signature on the tow record.
You're a seasoned veteran. You're seasoned. How can you forget something that happened 4 days ago?
After more pressure from Terrence's parents, a second call is made later that day from the sheriff's office to the deputy. This time, his memory returns.
At that point, he does say, oh yeah, that he remembers making contact with Terrence.
Coming up, a coincidence in the extreme is revealed when details in a deputy's incident report mirror the case of another missing man.
Something of this magnitude wouldn't go unnoticed.
4 days after Terrence Williams is last seen leaving a party, his family finds out that his car was towed hours later from a North Naples cemetery. Witnesses at the cemetery remember seeing a white Cadillac getting pulled over by a patrol deputy, and a young man fitting Terrence's description being ushered into the back of the police car. 7 days later, Corporal Steve Calkins is asked to submit an incident report.
On the 19th, the investigators make contact with Calkins, and he tells the first group of investigators that he runs into Terrence coming down Vanderbilt Beach Drive Road, where he says that he could see the car was obviously having problems.
Hearing this testimony puzzles Terrence's mother.
The deputy stated that the car was in distress. The car was just taken out of the shop. And when I was finally able to get the car, I drove the car 25 miles. No problem.
But other than a slight time discrepancy, the witness accounts mirror Calkins' report.
His side of the story was that Terrence was kind of pleading for a ride to work. Would you please give him a ride up the block to the Circle K? At first, Calkins says, no, I'll get you a cab. But eventually he says he seems like a nice guy, he's persistent, and he does decide to give him a ride up to the Circle K.
Because Terrence has a tainted history with the law from his early adulthood in Chattanooga, his mother finds Calkins' account hard to believe.
Terrence wouldn't ask a cop to take him to work. He would have called me first, or Jay.
She also does not understand why Terrence would have lied about working at the Circle K.
His side of the story is that when he puts him out at the Circle K, he tells Terrence to get his ID in order and make sure that the paperwork is in order for the car.
According to Calkins, Terrence told him the registration papers were in the glove box. So the deputy decides to go back to the cemetery alone to further investigate the car.
He doesn't find any of this paperwork that he claims that Terrence told him was in there.
Feeling deceived by the man Calkins said he knows only as Terrence, the deputy says he phoned the Circle K to track him down. He says he was told that no one by that name worked there. The deputy then called in the license plate number to dispatch. He found Terrence was driving on an expired tag. Now, with a new piece of the puzzle in the search for Terrence, family and investigators spring into action. The first stop is the Circle K. They are hoping the missing man has been caught on surveillance camera and ask the manager to screen video from January the 12th.
Terrence's stepfather viewed that tape by himself before law enforcement did, and he didn't see him there.
There's nowhere on camera that Terrence was dropped off in the deputy's car.
Employees who worked that day are also questioned.
Nobody at the Circle K ever saw Terrence get out of the vehicle. A very busy Circle K, especially at noontime.
But investigators know the constant flow of traffic would make it less likely for someone to remember seeing the alleged drop-off.
So we have no independent witnesses.
Meanwhile, the Williams family are desperate to know more, and they are not satisfied with the way Deputy Calkins has conducted himself.
So I became more suspicious when it didn't seem as if he was helping at all. So I said, enough of this. I filed a complaint.
Internal Affairs immediately opens a case on Deputy Calkins to see if he has violated any policies in his handling of the traffic stop. As both the criminal investigation into the disappearance of Terrence Williams and the Internal Affairs probe into Calkins' conduct heats up, detectives find themselves in an awkward position.
Early on, when the people running this investigation realized that we were looking at one of our own, I think wisely at that point they chose to invite outside agencies to come in.
The Florida Department of Law Enforcement, along with the FBI, are asked to conduct their own investigation to avoid any accusations of a cover-up.
In this particular case, you've got a law enforcement officer as their person of interest. It's always important to have a third party look at it so there isn't any appearance of any impropriety.
But there is more. The case has the sheriff's office particularly unnerved for another reason. It is eerily similar to a complaint filed against the same deputy just 3 months earlier, also in connection with a missing man in North Naples.
The connection was actually made quite quickly. It's a small agency, small enough to realize that something of this magnitude wouldn't go unnoticed.
25 miles down the road, in a poor migrant farming town called Immokalee, the case of a missing Mexican immigrant, 23-year-old Felipe Santos, has rocked the community. The last person known to have seen Felipe before he disappeared, just months earlier, was Deputy Steve Calkins. Things were looking up for Felipe Santos after 2 difficult years working as a migrant farmer.
He was able to find a job to work in construction, which meant that that was a more stable job. It was a little bit better paid.
With his girlfriend expecting their first child, this new prospect was good news for Felipe. The only problem was that the job happened to be 30 miles away.
More often than not, you have to get there on your own steam. Felipe and his brothers had acquired a car and were driving themselves to work in the morning.
As undocumented workers, neither Felipe nor his brothers was able to apply for driver's licenses or get insurance.
He was driving without a license, not because he wasn't trying to follow the laws, but because he was trying to support his family.
On the morning of October 14th, 2003, Felipe Santos said goodbye to his girlfriend and newborn baby girl.
Felipe and his brothers were going to work. They'd gotten all the way into Naples, and they were very close to the work site when they were in an accident.
Felipe got into the wrong turning lane in the left side, came back into traffic, making contact with the other car.
The 2 damaged vehicles pulled out of the busy intersection and into a shopping center. The other driver flagged down a police car. Deputy Steve Calkins emerged from the cruiser. Coming up, 2 men are caught driving without a license or insurance by the same responding deputy, and both men are missing.
How do you handle that type of situation? Do you turn a blind eye?
When the Collier County Sheriff's Office learns that 27-year-old Terrence Williams was last seen getting into the back of Deputy Steve Calkins' patrol car, the case of the missing young father intensifies. Police are concerned. It is the second time that Deputy Calkins was the last person confirmed to have contact with a missing person out of North Naples. 3 months earlier, he was the responding officer to a car crash involving Felipe Santos.
He made contact first with the citizen who explained a little bit of the crash, and from his account, Felipe Santos identified himself as the driver of the car.
When he found out that Felipe didn't have a driver's license, he put him immediately in the back of the patrol car.
Calkins described it as a very amicable situation where everyone was just cordial.
But a statement given to the police by the other driver tells a slightly different story.
She said that when Corporal Calkins arrived on scene, he seemed agitated and made a comment that he was tired of handling incidences with people without driver's license and without insurance.
According to witnesses, the deputy drove out of the parking lot with Felipe in the backseat of the cruiser. His family believed the officer arrested Felipe and that they would find him in the county jail.
They called the jail center a number of times during the day and actually went over to the jail that afternoon. And Felipe wasn't there.
Two weeks after the accident, with no word from the dedicated new father, the Santos family finally received a copy of Deputy Calkins' incident report, explaining why Felipe was not in lockup.
Calkins said that he decided not to take him to jail because he was polite, and that he was going to drop him off at the Circle K so that he could make a call, so he could get a ride.
According to the incident report, Deputy Calkins did not want Felipe to get back in his car, which is why he drove him only a half-mile up the road to the Circle K gas station. But before letting Felipe go, Deputy Calkins issued him 3 tickets. The first, driving without a license, obliged Felipe to appear in court on November 13th, while the other 2 carried fines totaling $2,000. After seeing the citations and reading the deputy's report, the Santos family feels Deputy Calkins did not act appropriately.
They were finally able to file a missing persons report and also a complaint, because if he had been arrested, then he should have been in jail. He shouldn't have just disappeared.
Deputy Calkins is made aware that his handling of the accident will be investigated by Internal Affairs. In his 17 years with the Collier County Sheriff's Office, his record has been commendable. He has even been lauded a hero on several occasions while on patrol. Now, under tight scrutiny, Calkins is forthcoming and volunteers a taped interview. As far as the missing persons case goes, police have very little to go on.
Mr. Santos was of legal age, had every right in America to just not to be found.
But Felipe's failure to appear on the November 13th scheduled court date in accordance with the citation now does make him a fugitive. Could he be hiding from the police intentionally to escape prison or deportation? Although plausible, investigators do not believe this to be the case.
We didn't have any evidence of a crime, but there were certain red flags that the original investigators picked up on and kept the case alive. No family contact. He didn't pick up his paycheck.
The hunt for Felipe involves multiple agencies and crosses borders, and not a shred of evidence surfaces to indicate Felipe is alive and well. After nearly a 2-month administrative investigation, Deputy Calkins is exonerated of any wrongdoing regarding his actions following the traffic stop.
Would another police officer do what he did? I don't know, but what he did was correct and according to procedures at the time.
Then, just 72 hours after Felipe's family is sent a letter stating Deputy Calkins has been cleared of any wrongdoing, Terrence Williams goes missing. Is this a coincidence in the extreme, or something far worse? Nine days after Terrence Williams goes missing, the Collier County Sheriff's Office Crime Scene Unit processes his car. They are looking for any kind of evidence that would help them determine what happened to Terrence.
There was some trace evidence found in the car. However, it's crucial for the case that be kept confidential at this time.
2 days later, the Sheriff's Office holds a press conference asking the public for help in locating Terrence Williams. Tips start flooding in.
In the beginning of the investigation, there were several tips that came in, sightings of Terrence. One of the officers believed that he might have saw somebody that might have been Terrence by the Granada Shopping Center. But that was fully investigated, and it just didn't pan out.
On February 12th, 1 month after Terrence went missing, Internal Affairs asks Steve Calkins to come in for a taped interview. As part of the administrative investigation, Calkins signs a document stating nothing he says can be used as evidence in a criminal court. Feeling satisfied with his answers, investigators then issue Deputy Calkins a polygraph, and he passes. Coming up, the investigation takes a dramatic turn when police uncover a recorded dispatch call on the day Terrence went missing.
He lied. To me, that was more important than anything in that phone call.
It has been over 1 month since Terrence Williams went missing, and more than 4 months since Felipe Santos disappeared. There has been no sign of either man since the day they each vanished.
Terrence and Felipe goes together now, you know. The last person that we are aware of that saw them was the deputy.
The criminal investigations into both missing men share the same starting point, Deputy Calkins' patrol car, since that is where both men were last seen. Detectives orchestrate a covert forensic search of the car.
They were looking for any telltale signs of a violent struggle. There might have been a sign of a cleanup in the car where blood could have spattered.
I was told that his car was searched and it was immaculate. That's the word that you use, very clean.
But investigators did not stop there. A GPS device is put on his vehicle to see where Calkins spends his time while on patrol. They are looking for secluded spots where he could have taken Terrence, if in fact a crime was committed.
They identified 12 areas at that time where they felt intensive searches needed to be done.
After 2 days of exhaustive searches, using aerial photography and several cadaver dog teams, investigators find no new evidence.
Unfortunately, it was just so much wasteland out there. It's wooded area. You could do something in broad daylight and nobody would know.
Meanwhile, detectives delve into Terrence's background to see if he has any reason to disappear on his own.
Terrence, as a young man, did have some issues with the law up in Tennessee.
On January 14th, 2 days after the morning he went missing, Terrence was scheduled to appear in front of a judge in Chattanooga, involving back pay for child support.
He would have never ran from it. He didn't miss his court dates because he was trying to make everything right so that he could keep moving forward in his life.
When he failed to show up, a warrant was issued for his arrest. Now, police must question whether this warrant has anything to do with Terrence going missing.
Terrence did have full knowledge of the proceedings against him. Did he have reason to disappear for that? Yeah, but if he did, he's doing a masterful job.
Meanwhile, the internal affairs probe into Calkins' conduct the day Terrence went missing continues. After giving detectives his statement on February 12th, they must make sure the deputy's story checks out. They pull tapes of the calls the deputy made into dispatch that afternoon, and what they find is disconcerting. Just 4 minutes after finding out Terrence's tag was expired, Calkins contacts his friend in dispatch with a story that contradicts both his original statement and what the witnesses saw.
I got a holy Cadillac on the side of the road here. Signal 11, signal 52, nobody around. All right. The tag comes back to nothing. It's a big old white piece of junk Cadillac. Like a really? I told it. He told it, Davey. Give me the VIN number. Maybe he's out there in the cemetery. He'll come back in his car, I'll be gone. Yeah, really. Mr. No registration. Well, it was blocking the road about an inch off the road, you know.
Previously, Calkins said he followed Terrence into the cemetery parking lot because the man was having car trouble. Then, the deputy said he later moved the Cadillac to the side of the road so that it requests a background check on Terrence. Up until now, investigators have been led to believe that Deputy Calkins' interaction with Terrence lasted no more than 5 minutes, and that he never knew the man's last name. Yet now, 23 minutes after he calls dispatch to have the car towed, he is able to run a background check using Terrence's full name and a fake birth date. It is a date only Terrence himself could have shared with Calkins.
That became a problem for the investigators. Where did he get the date of birth?
On March 30th, Steve Calkins is asked once again to come in for questioning by Internal Affairs. When asked about the discrepancies, the deputy admits he cannot account for them.
He thought he found paperwork in the car, but he was confronted that you already said there was no paperwork in the car.
The more Steve Calkins is interviewed by Internal Affairs, the more inconsistent he gets.
He was boxed in on a lot of questions, couldn't answer, and that's alarming.
Three months after Terrence went missing, police issue Deputy Calkins another polygraph. Unlike before, the questions now focus on what happened after Deputy Calkins had Terrence's car towed.
He was asked where to get the date of birth. Was Terrence with him? He failed that. He failed when he had any second contact with Terrence. He failed that. He was found to be totally deceptive.
The polygraph results beg the question: did Steve Calkins see Terrence again after allegedly dropping him off at the Circle K? And if so, why isn't he coming clean? Calkins insists his interaction with both Terrence and Felipe ended at the Circle K, and that he had nothing to do with either man going missing. It's the last time Stephen Calkins answers questions from law enforcement about what happened on January 11th.
The fact that he's no longer cooperating sits heavy with a lot of folks.
And if Calkins is hiding something, there is nothing more the police can do.
No probable cause ever came up to search his house. Love to have done it, but just no probable cause ever existed. Do we have issues with some of the things that he said and did? Yes. But motive, no.
On August 20th, the Internal Affairs investigation comes to a close. All complaints against Steve Calkins are sustained, and he is fired for non-compliance with rules and regulations, untruthfulness, and conduct unbecoming of an officer. 2 weeks later, Calkins appeals the decision.
He felt he was being picked on by the agency, that they were unfairly going after him for political reasons. He felt that the investigators kind of slumped off certain leads.
Calkins' appeal is denied. Although the Collier County Sheriff insists there is no hard evidence to suggest physical harm has come to either Felipe or Terrence, his decision to fire Calkins is firm. In a memo, the sheriff says he has lost trust in Calkins and his ability to recall incidents.
Collier County Sheriff's Office did exactly what they were supposed to do. FDLE, I like to think we did exactly what we were supposed to do. The unfortunate part is the circumstances around this case doesn't lead us to a resolution right now.
The Collier County Sheriff's Office has been deeply affected by this investigation.
It rocks us. But it also, too, is a way of solidifying this agency, that we turn around and we band together and say, no, this kind of behavior is unacceptable.
Yet to this day, Stephen Calkins believes he was wronged by the Collier County Sheriff and that he fell victim to coincidence. But Terrence's mother is not buying it.
He's gonna pay for what he did to my grandchildren. He's gonna pay for what I've been going through.
Coincidence or not, Stephen Calkins remains on investigators' radar.
We don't pick our persons of interest. The facts bring us to a person of interest. And every time you look at this case, the facts bring us back to Stephen Calkins.
Unfortunately, we still have a little bit of a mystery on our hands.
7 years have passed since Terrence Williams and Felipe Santos went missing from North Naples. But detectives from the Collier County Sheriff's Office say they never stray far from the case.
Anytime any unidentified person is found deceased in this county, or if I find other counties where we constantly exchange information, a follow-up is done.
Then in January of 2011, the skeletal remains of an unidentified male are found in a secluded area just under a mile from where Felipe was last seen.
When I read it, I'm like, it could be Felipe. And if it's Felipe, Terrence is close by.
For the family to have peace, they just want to have their questions answered. What happened that day? Where did he go? Why isn't he here?
Although a preliminary report rules out the body as Felipe's, investigators must wait for final confirmation through DNA testing. Meanwhile, Marcia Williams continues her unending quest to locate her only son.
I just want to know where my child is. I want to be able to take him home, and then I can begin to close that chapter. But I'll never in my life forget him. I'll never forget him. And he was my good friend.
Tim Carney disappeared on September 28, 2004. When a person disappears without a trace, often the most critical information is hidden in their actions and words from the days before they vanished. Tim Carney's last known whereabouts may hold the clues to what happened to him. 25-year-old Tim Carney belongs to a religious group that worries his family.
I think they were telling him, we're your family now. You don't need your family. We're your family.
Suddenly, he vanishes on his way to morning prayers, leaving his family searching for clues.
I always wonder if he was trying to warn us about something that was happening.
The Carneys suspect Tim's religious devotion may have played a role in his disappearance.
He would never go this long without calling somebody in our family and saying, I'm okay.
Just when investigators believe Tim may be out of reach, witnesses think they have spotted him.
He seemed very tense and very nervous.
Will detectives be able to find him before it's too late?
If he had to live on the streets, I just don't see him surviving.
Tim Carney has devoted himself to his religious life. For the past 5 years, he's been a member of a small church in New Jersey. Every morning, Tim has the same routine. Before starting his day at the New Jersey Unemployment Office, he wakes up at 5 a.m. and goes to the church's 7 a.m. prayer meeting.
He came home one weekend and said that he had joined a church, and we were glad. We grew up in church, so we thought that was good.
We stressed the fact that religion was an important part of our lives. We believe in God. We went to church every Sunday. I taught Sunday school. Tim was in my class as well as his sisters. So we were happy that religion was still a part of his life.
Tim joins the Gospel Outreach Church, led by Pastor Jim Lethbridge, and soon has a new circle of friends. His sister Megan would come to question the group's appeal.
I think Tim joined Gospel Outreach because they posed themselves as a Christian study group, people that were on his wavelength, you know, really focused on academics.
He didn't say too much, just that he was going to church, and we were just happy to hear that, so we left it at that.
Tim surrounds himself primarily with Gospel Outreach members and has been living with fellow congregants since college.
He felt very comfortable there. He felt wanted and loved, and he felt at home.
While Tim had excelled in academics growing up, his bookish nature made it difficult for him to make friends when he was younger.
He was the smart kid, so people shy away from smart kids. He would be talking to adults at 12 years old because nobody else understood him. He was made fun of a lot. He just wanted to feel like he belonged to something, a group.
It was hard. It was very hard because we know he's got a great sense of humor. He's a great kid. You just got to get to know him.
Tim's passion for books eventually inspired him to write his own stories.
Tim started writing at a young age. Because he loved reading so much, it was just natural for him to just try to create his own adventures in writing.
Tim had particularly enjoyed mysteries.
His favorite was Edgar Allan Poe, and he liked to write with the surprise endings. In his briefcase, he had writing. He was writing a book.
Tim was pretty secretive with his writings. Once he felt like something was perfect, then he would share it. But before then, he was pretty protective of his writings, and he would keep them in like a briefcase.
Tim could never have known then that his own life would one day become the center of a troubling mystery. On September 28, 2004, an average Tuesday, Tim's day begins as usual. According to his roommate Roy, also a member of Gospel Outreach, Tim wakes at 5 a.m. to go to the 7 a.m. prayer meeting. But on this day, Tim's morning unfolds differently from his normal routine. His fellow church members report that Tim never arrives at morning prayers. Even before his disappearance, Tim's family is uncomfortable with the way Tim makes church activities the central focus of his life.
Whereas before he would come down and join us for church on Sunday as a family, now if he did come down, he had to leave right away to get back to the group. It was more about, you know, I got to get to Bible study, or I have to get to men's group, or I have to get to choir. It was mandatory for him to attend.
Family members worry that Tim's religious commitment is pulling him away from them.
Well, there was a big change in Tim. He didn't come around as often. He was very secretive. He wouldn't communicate with us. And that was tough, because before that, we always had a good communication.
It was just really out of character for him, just not like him to miss the family function or to not call. And it was happening more and more frequently. I didn't like what was happening. I didn't like that he couldn't be with us.
Every time he had to go somewhere, he couldn't go by himself. When my sister was in the hospital, he would come down to see her, but he always had somebody else with him. And they made a statement once where it's like, well, we wanted to make sure there was a real Aunt Kathleen.
Phyllis Carney sensed a pressure on Tim to distance himself from his family.
I think they don't want you to talk to anybody else outside the group, because they always said, well, don't tell anybody about us because they won't understand.
Rick Ross is consulted nationwide by families and law enforcement. He has made a career studying religious groups, including Gospel Outreach and Pastor Lethbridge.
In my experience, the families that have loved ones in Gospel Outreach have very limited communication. When a group isolates members, they do that in order to create a kind of bubble. If they can control everything that goes into the mind, they can control the mind itself. So by isolating people from family members, they create an environment in where what the group wants them to think and feel is constantly being reinforced.
I think they were telling them, we're your family now. You don't need your family. We're your family. Well, churches bring people together. They don't tear them apart.
Tim's family notices that his devotion to Gospel Outreach and to the teachings of Pastor Lethbridge seems to have a physical effect.
He changed his appearance. He always had short hair in college. And one summer when he came home, he had long hair and he had a ponytail. We didn't think much of it. Actually, it looked good on him. But then one Sunday, we went and sat in on a church service, and lo and behold, the minister happens to have long hair and a ponytail. And so do several other male members of the group.
But then one day he came home with short hair and surprised me. Then we saw Lethbridge right after that, and Lethbridge had cut his hair.
Gradually, Tim's parents begin to see Gospel Outreach as very different from the kind of church in which the Carneys had grown up.
We had gotten a phone call from parents who have a son in the group also, and they had some concerns about the church, and they wanted to talk to us about it. That's when everything kind of fell into place. Things that we joked about, we thought was kind of funny, but once we started talking to these people, it wasn't funny anymore. It was serious. We know he's a smart boy. We didn't think he'd be sucked into a group that would influence him like they did.
In 2003, the year before Tim disappears, his ties to gospel outreach grow even stronger when he begins seeing a woman who is also a member of the congregation.
He came home and said he was courting. That's the word they used. I said, well, what kind of word is courting? I wasn't, you know, they don't use that word anymore. That's such an old-fashioned term that was a little strange too, I thought.
Tim's family was bewildered by his dating rituals.
They could sit next to one another, but they couldn't hold hands. If they wanted to hold hands, they had to hold a fork. She held the fork halfway, and then he would grab a fork the rest of the way. And that was their way of being with one another. They couldn't touch.
At Tim's college graduation party, his sister Megan noticed that some members of gospel outreach seemed to have more conservative customs than other couples she knew.
There was 3 people watching TV, and the couple that was supposed to have been together weren't sitting next to each other on the couch. There was somebody in between them. It seemed like none of the girls could ever be alone with their significant others. There always had to be like a person watching to make sure that they were following the rules.
When his parents bring up what they perceive as the church's strict doctrines, it becomes a source of tension in the family.
We try to avoid talking about the church because then that only goes into an argument, and then we start yelling at one another.
He was constantly trying to prove to us that it was a legitimate group, or it was a good group, or that there was nothing wrong, that everything was fine and happy. I think part of that is that he wouldn't want my mother or my father to worry. But part of that is almost as if maybe deep down he knew that some of the things that they were doing weren't how we were raised or how we grew up.
All the Carneys knew of gospel outreach was what they heard from Tim, that it was a Christian fellowship devoted to studying the Bible. Despite his family's concerns about the strict lifestyle that gospel outreach seems to require, Phyllis Carney sees Tim's relationship having a positive impact on her son.
Oh, he seemed very happy. He really did. He seemed very, very happy with her. I mean, he brought her to the family Christmas party. If he's happy, then you're happy.
But about 7 months after Tim's relationship begins, the Carneys learned some disappointing news.
One day he just came and said they had broken up, and that's all he would say. Looked like he was upset about it, but he wouldn't talk about it. And that was it.
On Saturday, September 25th, 2004, 5 months after Tim's breakup, he and his sisters Erin and Megan have dinner at their childhood home to celebrate their parents' anniversary.
We just had a nice night, family-wise. We didn't talk about the church at all.
He didn't leave early. He stayed, and he had dinner with us, and we watched a movie after, and it was like the old Tim. Being in the moment, just being with the family, just having a good time.
The last thing he did was hug me and say, "Mom, I love you," and then he left and went home.
The next day, Sunday, Megan gets together with Tim, but their time is cut short.
We were supposed to go to lunch, but I canceled because I wasn't in a good mood.
Megan sees a potential clue she may have missed, looking back on that day.
He was trying hard to convince me to go out to eat, try to, you know, get together, and I didn't. I didn't go. And it feels awful. I hate so much that I wasn't in a good mood. He wasn't always so insistent to meet for lunch. Like, if we get together, we get together. You know, if we don't, we'll just reschedule, no big deal. But I always wonder if he was trying to tell me something, or maybe warn us about something that was happening that we didn't know about. I always wonder about that.
Tim's request to meet for lunch would echo in Megan's mind. Just 2 days later, on Tuesday, September 28th, Tim never shows up at morning prayers and disappears. Coming up, when police find a clue, Tim's family fears the worst.
We thought foul play.
On Saturday, September 25th, 3 days before he disappears, 25-year-old Tim Carney spends the evening with his family at his parents' home in Edison, New Jersey. As he leaves, Tim hugs his mom goodbye and says he'll see her next week. The following Tuesday, September 28th, Tim gets up at 5 a.m. as usual to go to the Gospel Outreach 7 a.m. morning prayers. But Tim never appears. By 9 a.m., when Tim doesn't show up at the unemployment office where he works as a claims examiner, his coworkers assume Tim is just late. According to his colleagues, this had become common, especially since his breakup. Then, just after 9 a.m., Tim calls his supervisor to say he'll be late. But by 10 a.m., Tim hasn't arrived. Calls to his home and cell phones only reach his voicemail. The next day, the Carneys get a call every parent dreads.
His roommate Roy called and wanted to know if Tim was at our house because he didn't come home that night. Well, no, he's not here.
We called his cell phone and it just rang. No one picked up.
Alarmed, Phyllis and Ed Carney file a missing persons report with the police in Butler, New Jersey, where Tim lives. When detectives search his home, they find no indication that Tim was leaving for longer than just a normal workday. Detective Colleen Pascal is on the team investigating Tim's case.
Nothing was taken out of his home of importance. If he again intended to go away for long, he did not take any of his belongings. His room was intact, his clothes were still there.
Police discover Tim took something with him that at the time seemed normal for him to bring to work, along with his wallet, keys, and cell phone.
We understand that he took the silver briefcase. It's believed that there were writings in that briefcase, which is something that he always carries.
According to investigators, after Tim calls his supervisor around 9 that morning, all outbound activity from his cell phone stops. On Wednesday, September 29th, the day after Tim vanishes, a clue appears.
We received information that somebody had found a wallet.
A patron at the Lyndhurst Diner spots Tim's wallet in the eatery's parking lot. The restaurant is on Route 23, halfway between Tim's apartment and his office. Police learn from the diner's employees that someone matching Tim's description used to eat breakfast there often. Unfortunately, by the time police received the tip about Tim's wallet, it has already been sitting at the diner for several days.
When the wallet was found, they called the phone number that was in his wallet, and his roommate obtained the message, but the message didn't get to the police that day. The police didn't find out about the wallet for quite some time. They could have questioned people a lot sooner instead of quite a few days after.
Police canvass the area around the diner, but find no leads. The wallet still contains Tim's credit cards, leading police to believe this was not a robbery. What's missing also doesn't suggest foul play to Al Schumann, a private investigator hired by the Carney family 6 months after Tim disappears.
Curiously, what was missing from the wallet was nothing except his driver's license and his college identification card.
Since nothing valuable is missing from Tim's wallet, investigators now reason that he may have left it there himself. If so, they need to find out why. Because Tim is an adult, his case centers on one concern. Did he vanish of his own free will, or has he been abducted?
If he chose to be missing on his own, if he just left and did not want to be found, then that in itself is not a crime. He's not a child. He doesn't have to report to his parents where he is. "3 days after Tim vanishes, there's a new development. In Newark,
About 35 miles from Tim's home, construction workers discover an abandoned car. When police respond to the scene, they determine that the car belongs to Tim Carney.
When they found this car, we thought foul play. So we were very worried at this point that something terrible had happened to Tim, because they thought, well, maybe they found his body there also. And they said, no, it's just a car. There's no sign of Tim.
Once again, the investigation takes an unfortunate turn. By the time police get the call, it has been almost a week that Tim's car has been at the construction site.
That's where the city of Newark and the city of Elizabeth meet. No one was notified right away about the car because each township felt it was the other township's issue. So it had gone quite a few days without anybody contacting the police regarding it to even notice that, wow, that car belonged to somebody who was declared missing.
The construction site sits on a dirt road off the main highway. It's virtually unreachable by foot.
We didn't know what to think because, like, well, if his car's there, then how did he get out of the spot? It's in a remote spot. It was very far to walk to anywhere.
Investigators find little that indicates what may have happened to him.
It had been raining, and so any clues that there were there, whether it's footprints or whatever, were washed away.
No forensics other than his was retained from the vehicle. There was no sign of struggle. No evidence led any of the investigator officers to believe that there was foul play. It appears that the vehicle was just abandoned.
But detectives do notice one thing notably missing from Tim's car.
He always had this briefcase with him, and they didn't find it.
Since police find no sign of foul play from Tim's wallet or car, and the briefcase that had always been by his side is now missing, detectives believe that Tim may have disappeared intentionally. The discovery of Tim's car gives Tim's loved ones some hope, while also raising some unsettling questions.
Why would he ditch the car? I mean, all kinds of thoughts go through your head. It's like, did he get hurt? Did he walk somewhere? What's the next step? Where do you go? Where should we go look? Any bit of hope, you go running to it. You have hope that you'll find him.
Even though the car itself doesn't provide any leads, investigators do find one important clue. The construction site is right by Newark International Airport. Coming up, Tim's family suspects he may be in trouble.
He would never go this long without calling somebody and saying.
Mysterious signs of 25-year-old Tim Carney have been turning up after he disappears on Saturday, September 28, 2004. Tim's wallet is spotted in a parking lot the next day. Then, police find his car in a remote location about 35 miles from his home. There are no signs of foul play, but they do notice that his briefcase is missing. His briefcase, containing his writing, was the one item Tim was known to always keep with him. Since Tim's car is abandoned near Newark International Airport, police reason he may have boarded a flight. Tim's father, Ed Carney, believes that his son could have headed to Canada.
We thought he might have gone to Canada because he knows people in Canada. He speaks French fluently. He had 7 years of it in school.
At the time of Tim's disappearance, a driver's license was sufficient travel documentation for U.S. citizens to enter Canada. Since Tim's driver's license was missing from his wallet, it's possible he could have crossed the border. Phyllis Carney believes her son may have been looking for a way out of what they saw as the restrictive life he led as a member of the Gospel Outreach Church.
If Tim was going to leave the church, I don't think he would have told us. And so I think he might have thought in order to leave the church, this was the way to do it. The pressure might have just gotten to him.
Initially, Tim's family wants to believe their only son will soon return.
We thought maybe he's got to clear his head and then we'll see him again.
But as the days stretch on, the Carneys also find something troubling in Tim's disappearance. Even if he left of his own free will, they wonder if something may have happened to him.
I just know my brother enough to know that he would never do this to my parents. I mean, we're a pretty close family. He would never go this long without calling somebody in our family and saying, I'm okay.
Ed Carney speaks to Pastor Jim Lethbridge soon after Tim goes missing. Just days later, members of his church and Lethbridge leave for a weekend retreat.
And he told me when they come back, he'll give me the full support of him and the church and looking for Tim. I thought it was odd that they all decided to go away for a weekend and not help me find Tim.
Rick Ross has seen this response to a disappearance with other religious groups.
When there's a group and it's very small, like the Lethbridge group, which has just a handful of members really, and someone important like Tim Carney leaves, who everyone regarded as at one time a loyal and devoted member, it creates doubts in the group. So in order to get a handle on that, a leader may sequester the group and go into a kind of retreat where he or she can then spin the departure of the valued group member for damage control.
Once Gospel Outreach members return from the retreat, the Carneys hope for their support in the search effort.
I specifically called Pastor Lethbridge to request his assistance, and he just was unavailable. He couldn't be bothered.
They might have known if he was depressed. He was with them more than he was with us. Any one of them could have helped us, but nobody talked to us, nobody called. And that's more disappointing than anything, that nobody wanted to help us.
After private investigator Al Schumann also reaches out to Gospel Outreach members, he says he gets minimal cooperation.
The church members were reluctant to speak. As a matter of fact, they were very curt and abrupt in response.
Then, Ed and Phyllis Carney speak to other parents of Gospel Outreach members. They report learning that Tim's congregation has a very different understanding of his disappearance.
And I was shocked to find out that they're told that Tim's okay.
According to the Carneys, Jim Lethbridge has given his congregation a disturbing account of Tim's disappearance, that Tim is not missing at all, and that his parents know his whereabouts.
He told them we kidnapped our own son.
He just feels that my parents have done something with him and that, you know, we're hiding him. We're certainly not hiding him. We're trying to bring him home.
Still pursuing the theory that Tim might have boarded a plane, investigators examine travel manifests in the hope of finding Tim's name on a flight out of Newark. Their search comes up empty, as do Al Schumann's inquiries with Canadian authorities.
I contacted the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. They said that at that point, border patrols had tightened to the point where they were almost certain that he could not have gone into Canada from the United States without being detected.
But investigators realize that Tim could have found a way to make himself nearly invisible to anyone trying to track him. The search for Tim Carney might be targeting the wrong person.
He could have assumed a new identity due to his employment.
Tim's position at the state unemployment office put dozens of Social Security numbers within his reach, giving him the ability to create an entirely new identity. If Tim did assume another identity, it would be virtually impossible to track him among the thousands of passengers who travel daily through Newark Airport. Phyllis Carney suspects that with a new identity, Tim could easily avoid detection.
He's a very average-looking guy. I mean, he doesn't have blue hair.
Is it possible that Tim, the amateur mystery writer, could have created the ultimate whodunit?
It's like it's a mystery novel without the ending.
Coming up, Tim may be closer to home than his family realizes. 25-year-old Tim Carney has gone missing. According to his family, he may have wanted to escape his life in the Gospel Outreach Church, a congregation the Carneys saw as isolating and controlling. Tim's family hears that Gospel Outreach pastor Jim Lethbridge has told his members that Tim has not disappeared at all, and that his parents know where he is. Since Tim had access to countless Social Security numbers through his job at the unemployment office, investigators consider the possibility that he could be traveling under a different identity. police get a lead that heats up the local search again. Since his disappearance, investigators have been monitoring Tim's bank account and credit cards. For 3 days, the accounts have shown no activity. But suddenly, on the 4th day after Tim goes missing, bank surveillance images reveal a man accessing Tim's checking account.
On October 2nd, there was an image taken of a male party withdrawing money from his account. He's wearing a baseball cap. The baseball cap was pulled down very low over his eyes so that you could not see who the individual was. Clearly, the individual is trying to hide themselves from the camera.
The bank is located about 7 miles from the construction site where Tim's car is found abandoned, and about 24 miles from his usual branch. The man in the surveillance image hands the teller a withdrawal slip in the amount of $1,000, just $100 short of the entire balance in Tim's account. When police interview the bank teller, she reports a curious observation. The person making the transaction had a red, splotchy rash all over his hands.
I knew it was him. He had psoriasis starting in high school. I could tell it was him. I could tell it by his hands.
According to his parents, Tim's psoriasis tended to flare up at specific times.
Stress plays a role in it, so that would be something that would tell us that it was Tim.
Detectives showed the bank teller photos of Tim, and she identifies him as the man who made the withdrawal. Upon inspecting the withdrawal slip, police discovered that it includes Tim's driver's license number as proof of ID. The evidence confirms investigators' belief that it was Tim making the transaction. When authorities checked the bank's surveillance images, there is nothing that suggests Tim was being forced to make the withdrawal.
The individual who was there did not appear to be under duress.
But Tim's sister Megan isn't convinced that the man believed to be Tim was acting alone.
There was no parking lot shots to see if he was by himself or with somebody else.
Without his car, it would have taken Tim over 2 hours to walk from the construction site near Newark Airport to the bank. Investigators believe someone may be driving him around. But the question remains, even if Tim is with someone, is he in trouble? Authorities examine Tim's financial history for clues to his disappearance. What they find surprises even those closest to him. Tim had approximately $20,000 in credit card debt, a huge sum for anyone, particularly a civil servant making around $35,000 per year.
He did not have a lavish lifestyle. He lived in a local apartment complex. He drove a basic car.
Well, we figured he was doing okay. He's got a decent job. He's making a living. He was making ends meet.
Tim was the last person his family would expect to be in debt.
My brother was always good at saving. If he wanted a computer, my parents wouldn't buy it for him. He was always really good about saving to get whatever he wanted. He always had money. He always had some type of emergency fund.
But when authorities investigate his work life, they learn that Tim often borrowed money from his coworkers.
Sometimes he didn't even have the 70 cents tolls to go home with. You know, he'd have to borrow that. He'd borrow money for lunch.
Tim's family suspects that his involvement with gospel outreach may have been a factor in Tim's large debt.
When he joined Gospel Outreach, we started to notice that he didn't have as much money as he did before.
According to police, Gospel Outreach informed them that as a nonprofit organization, it collects annual dues that total about 10% of each member's yearly income. The Carneys believe Tim may have felt pressured to give Gospel Outreach more than just 10%.
He was giving a lot to the church. He got a part-time job also on top of his full-time job.
We didn't realize the income that he had, it just wasn't enough to live on after all that he was giving to the church.
I do believe that he may have had to pay using credit card debt and things like that to remain a part of this congregation.
According to Tim's family, the impact of his contributions to the church was evident.
I just remember a conversation with my mother and my brother. My mother telling him that, you know, he needed new shoes. And I remember my brother getting upset and telling her that you're expected to give 10% or more than 10%. 10% seemed to be the minimum that they were expected to give to Gospel Outreach and Pastor Lethbridge.
Still, investigators have no way of knowing whether finances, church-related or otherwise, play any role in Tim's disappearance. With no new information, the search for Tim Carney begins to look bleak.
What makes it disturbing is you have a whole lot of questions, but we don't really have any answers, nor do we have a way to find those answers because there are no leads.
Coming up, witnesses say they've seen Tim. But is it him? And is he in danger?
He seemed very tense and very nervous.
25-year-old Tim Carney has always loved mystery novels. And after vanishing on September 28, 2004, some evidence suggests that Tim may have written himself into a mystery of his own creation. Police find Tim's wallet and car within 1 week of his disappearance. They establish that neither the wallet nor his car show signs of foul play. Then, a man looking like Tim appears on bank surveillance footage, withdrawing nearly all the money in Tim's checking account. With hopes that Tim might still be nearby, the Carney family works tirelessly to find him.
I was passing out flyers, various businesses and restaurants along Route 23, the corridor where Tim would drive his car to and from work.
About 3 weeks after Tim disappears, the flyers pay off. On October 21st, police receive a call from employees at the Terminal 1 bar. It's about a 10-minute drive from Newark Airport and the construction site where Tim's car was abandoned. They report that somebody matching Tim's description has been seen at the bar in recent weeks. Inacio Pinto, the owner of Terminal 1 bar, remembers the man on the flyer specifically for what he didn't do.
He never consumed any alcohol, which is one of the reasons that it stood out to me. I mean, being the owner, I'm looking for people to always be drinking. He drank water every time.
Apparently, he also drew attention for being an unusually reserved bar patron.
What I remember about him the most is really the look in his eyes. Like he had a lot of inner turmoil, and he had a lot of stuff that he was just, you know, in his mind that he was thinking about. I mean, most people come to a bar, they come to sort of, you know, let loose, and he was anything but that. His look, his energy was saying, leave me alone. He seemed very tense and very nervous.
If this was Tim, he didn't seem to be a man on the run.
He didn't look like somebody that was homeless. He was fairly well dressed. He wasn't dirty in any way, but he was always dressed the same. A pair of slacks and a buttoned shirt. Sort of office wear. Looking back now, I think he was just killing time more so than anything. I think he probably didn't have any other place to go to, and this was sort of a place for him to spend some time.
Inacio recalls clearly the last time the Terminal 1 bar had a visit from the man he identifies from the flyer.
We had a problem with him, which I believe was the last time that we saw him here.
After keeping to himself for about 2 weeks, the normally quiet customer shows a sudden change in attitude toward a female bartender when he accuses her of stealing his wallet.
He caused a ruckus because the bartender said, you know, look, you gonna buy a drink or not? And then he accused the bartender of stealing his wallet and just making a scene at the bar.
My bartender wanted him thrown out because he was rude. It said something that was inappropriate, and he tried to reach and grab her. We just asked him to leave. He left. And he didn't really put up a fight. He just took off. And we never saw him after that.
The report of this incident leaves the Carney family concerned about Tim.
He's not a confrontational person. He didn't like fighting with his sister. He didn't like fighting with anyone.
That's not the Tim that we know. I don't know if he was doing that to bring attention to himself, that he wanted to be found.
With the unusual sightings of Tim, the Carneys considered the frightening thought that perhaps he might not be able to find his way home.
We were thinking at that point he might have hit his head. Maybe he didn't know who he was. We went everywhere we could think of, because if something did happen and he didn't know who he was, I'm sure your whole personality changes.
The Carneys continue their search, hoping Tim might still be within reach.
We gathered a team, and every day, every night, There were teams working on different things. One team would go out to homeless shelters or hospitals or supermarkets to put up flyers, and others would go to just local businesses and just people on the street.
Ed Carney believes that despite Tim's education and intellectual strengths, he would be no match for a life on the streets.
He's not streetwise. He would be taken advantage of so easily. If he had to live on the streets, I just don't see him surviving.
2 weeks after Tim Carney vanishes, his family must face a sad reality. Tim is really gone.
We went to go clean out his apartment because his lease, it was up. I think it was particularly difficult for my parents. My sister and I kept having to reassure them that everything would be okay. It was just stuff. It really didn't matter. What mattered is finding him and bringing him home, not how many shirts he had in his closet or what was on his coffee table.
10 months pass before a new development emerges in Tim's case. When private investigator Al Schumann is canvassing the area around the Terminal 1 bar, he uncovers a lead. Employees at a deli near the bar say they spotted Tim 2 to 3 months earlier, in the spring after his disappearance.
That particular deli was a real find. They definitely identified him by his photographs. He frequented that place 2 or 3 times.
The man usually bought a soda. It's another purchase that makes Al confident this could be Tim.
He bought a phone card, which would explain no further cell phone calls from or to anyone.
However, further searches of the area come up empty. The investigation hits a wall.
Unfortunately, there are so many variables of what could have happened to him, although I think that he has chosen his own destiny. And that is why we do not have any lead information to find him. Being a mother, I imagine it is probably one of the most difficult things that this family has had to deal with, not knowing what happened to their son. One way or the other, the family needs some type of closure to move on with their own lives.
Since the week of Tim's disappearance that autumn in 2004, the Carneys never hear from Pastor Lethbridge or any other members of Gospel Outreach. Still, upon investigation, detectives find no connection between Gospel Outreach and Tim's disappearance. Both Pastor Lethbridge and Gospel Outreach have denied that their congregation practices excessive control or financial impropriety.
None of their actions are a crime. Our investigation never led us to believe that any part of the congregation was party to Mr. Carney being missing. In itself, being part of a religious group is not a crime. What they teach is not a crime, and people have a right to choose what they want to believe in.
As the weeks turn into months and then years, Tim's family hopes he is still safe somewhere, but wrestle with the possibility that they may never see their would-be writer son again.
Never did we dream that it would be going on 6 years.
It's the little things that you really miss the most. It's waking up on Christmas and not being together as a family. Seeing all of our stockings come off the fireplace and his just there.
Every single day is hard, but you just have to get up. You have to go to work. There's just stuff that you have to do. You don't want to do it. You want to stay under the covers and hide, but you can't. I hope he's well. It's the not knowing that's what's the big puzzle. That's what hurts.
दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदा दे मौत दमाल दुनिया दो दिन दी दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदा दे मौत दमाल दुनिया दो दिन दी आए कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी सुल्तान भी आए बड़े बड़े सुल्तान भी आए ओढ़क जा बिच खाक समाए ओढ़क जा बिच खाक समाए हाय हो ख्वाब ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी, दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदा वे मौत दा माल दुनिया दो दिन दी। ऊंचे लम्हे महल बना दे, ऊंचे लम्हे महल बना दे, दगा फरेब ते जुल्म कमा दे, दगा फरेब ते जुल्म कमा दे। हाय कुछ नहीं खड़दे नाल दुनिया दो दिन दी, हाय कुछ नहीं खड़दे नाल दुनिया दो दिन दी। ओ दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदा वे मौत दा माल दुनिया दो दिन दी। दुनिया देंदी दुख बतेरे, दुनिया देंदी दुख बतेरे, वीरा कोलू वीर नखेड़े, वीरा कोलू वीर नखेड़े। आए मावा तू विछड़े लाल दुनिया दो दिन दी, आए मावा तू विछड़े लाल दुनिया दो दिन दी। ओ दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदा वे मौत दा माल दुनिया दो दिन दी। सुख दे सजना सारे संगी, सुख दे सजना सारे संगी, नस जांदे जद आवे तंगी, नस जांदे जद आवे तंगी। हाय कोई नहीं गम दा प्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी, ओह कोई नहीं गम दा प्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी। हंसना रोना गम लाचारी, हंसना रोना गम लाचारी, आज मेरी कल तेरी बारी, आज मेरी कल तेरी बारी। हाय कंजरी दी मिसाल दुनिया दो दिन दी, हाय कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी। ओ दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदा वे मौत दा माल दुनिया दो दिन दी। ओह कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी। पुत वे तुड़ा नी मिट्टी दा वीरा, पुत तुड़ा नी मिट्टी दा वीरा, अपना आप संभाल बशीरा, अपना आप संभाल बशीरा। हाय मिट्टी मिट्टी दा माल दुनिया दो दिन दी, हाय मिट्टी मिट्टी दा माल दुनिया दो दिन दी आए कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी आए कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी ओ दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदा मिट्टी दा माल दुनिया दो दिन दी आए कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी आए कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदा दे मौत दमाल दुनिया दो दिन दी दुनिया दो दिन दी बंदा दे मौत दमाल दुनिया दो दिन दी आए कर तू कुछ ख्याल दुनिया दो दिन दी सुल्तान भी आए बड़े बड़े सुल्तान भी आए ओढ़क जा बिच खाक समाए ओढ़क जा बिच खाक समाए आए हो गए ख्वाब खया